Hi there, I'm John Hancox and we're in the children's garden in Glasgow Botanics today, and we're having a look at the Cordon apple trees. The Cordons were planted about 2 years ago, and we basically grow cordons at an angle, and what you're doing by planting the trees at an angle, the trees get tricked into thinking that they're branches, and they put all of their energy into fruiting rather than into lots of top growth. And we've got some volunteers here today who are going to have a go at pruning them. Okay, so this is an apple called a Clydeside, which is an old heritage Clyde Valley apple variety. So this, what we're going to do with this is chop back these wee side branches. You chop them out to 3 buds out, basically, and we'll also tie this in along the cane. You use the canes to kind of establish the shape of the cordon. So when you're planting the trees, you put the canes in as sort of guides to grow the trees up. So let's have a go at that one then. I'll just try and demonstrate this. So if you come out sort of 1, 2, well, how are we doing? 3 buds out, and then when you're pruning, you use the sharp side of the secateurs to prune so that you're leaving a clean cut. And then take that. So that's come off.
Can you do it diagonally?
So if you were using the secateurs, you use the sharp side of the secateurs. So there's a sharp side and a sort of blunt side, which is called the anvil. So what you'd do is get it in. You have to be a bit careful because there's still fruit on the trees at this time of year. So we could take that one off to there, and that's us 3 buds out. And basically when you summer prune at this time of year, this is August, beginning of August, it encourages new fruit buds to develop in the autumn, and that's what's going to give you the fruit next year. Okay, so if you look in here, that is one of the flower buds that's just forming. They tend to be kind of purple and stick out. They're quite different in character from leaf buds. Leaf buds tend to be quite flat and are quite subtle, and you'd find them usually underneath an existing leaf. So under a leaf like that, this is just starting to form a leaf bud underneath, but you have to look quite carefully to see them, whereas the fruit buds are kind of purple and stick out. When you're pruning, if you prune out all the flower buds basically, then you won't get any fruit the next year. So it's a good idea to leave the flower buds as much as possible. The cutler-greve is actually one of the sister trees to Jamesgreve. Jamesgreve is a very quite a good Edinburgh apple. You can see in here, these are the fruit buds, and these are forming quite nice fruiting spurs in here. Fruiting spurs, it's like little hands with a cluster of fruit buds on it, so you get fruit forming in close to the trunk, and that's what you're really looking for with cordons. You're wanting a lot of energy going into fruiting and not too much into top growth. It's worth just mentioning these plant labels. I use these aluminium plant labels, and they're really good because you can actually write the name on with a pencil, so it's really quick. And when the aluminium kind of oxidizes, it kind of incorporates the pencil lead in, and it's permanent. So it's a really good way of doing it. The other nice thing is you can write some notes on the back. So in this case, I've written that it's the sister to Jamesgreve, which is a much more commonly known apple, but cutler-greve is quite rare.
You go to tie it up. I'll
Yeah.
just cut it for you, okay?
So I'm going to tie the top. I'm going to try my hand at it.
So what are you guys up to?
I'm going to tie this to the pole, the support pole, and I've got a little piece of tie material which is about 6 inches long, and this is a stretchy one, and it's stretchy, kind of helps keep the tree from not getting cut into as it would a wire. And so there, I'm just going to tie it on. I probably got this one a little too short. I would have been better had I had one that could wrap around twice. But so I'm saying it's right at the top to hold it in place. I had a question about the leaves here that are yellowing. I've noticed in touching some of them, they just really easily fall off. So what's causing that, do you think?
Well, it's early for the leaves to be coming off the trees, but it has been a bit of a rubbish year in Scotland. It's mid-August at the moment, and it's a healthy tree. Some of the leaves are still green and still doing fine. Some of these, it's hard to know. They might have been frosted or something. All of the trees are different though. The tree that's sitting next to it isn't showing any sign of these yellowing leaves, so I think it's just the way the variety behaves, to be honest. This is Galloway Pippin, which is well, it's widely grown down in the south of Scotland, although it does actually pretty well across Scotland. And this is a nice specimen. It's got lots of fruit buds coming, so there you go, there's one of the leaves coming off. It's quite handy because it lets you see the lets you see the fruit bud better. But I think it's a reasonably happy tree. It's put on new growth this year and it's doing all right. Sometimes if trees are yellow, you might want to put a bit of your general feed on as well, because sometimes it can be some kind of nutrient deficiency.
Alright, we're just going to tie in this apple tree to the cane. So take a piece of the flexible tie. And Christine might want to prune some if she finds any that need pruning.
Right. So what you do then is you take this piece, which is the new growth there, and you be tying that back in.
Around here?
Yep, that's cool. You've got a leaf in the way. If there are leaves kind of getting in the way, you don't really do any harm to the tree if you get rid of a few leaves.
Pass it around a couple of times.
Yeah.
Too tight. Bit of a granny knot or something.
A reef knot.
Reef knot, that's what it is.
Ideally. Yeah. So there we go. That's cool. And yeah, and that's us. So that's nice. And then do you want to have a look if there are any more of the side branches that need to be shortened in? Remembering it was, yeah.
This seems to, these have buds on them. It seems like they have the flower buds or the apple buds.
Yeah. Well, what you'd usually do is you'd want to go out about 3 buds out from the main stem. So if you want to count down out. So
1, 2, 3. These ones are all close together.
Yeah.
Or 1, 2, 3.
I wouldn't go too far down, but you might take it down to about that bud there, I think.
Okay, and it doesn't matter that it has one of the fruit buds on it? So
no, I mean there's more coming underneath.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright then.
That's cool. And what makes cordons nice and easy to work with really is that you just count 1, 2, 3 and then cut it. It's quite simple.
So 1, 2, 3 up there. Can you see? David should be the one counting.
I would go for either that bud or that bud. I bet I'm doing it partly by eye, but you'd be coming up to about a couple of inches, so I'd maybe go to that one.
Okay.
Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. And then you can see there's some really nice fruit buds in here that are forming. So with the following wind, this should be really quite good next year.
What about this one?
Yeah, that one more. So you'd want to shorten that down, partly because you don't want to have two competing leaders. You want to have a definite one that's going up here. So you'd want to take that one down as well. Yep.
So 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that's
there?
cool. Yeah. So this is Ardcairn russet. This is quite a nice tree to demonstrate pruning cordons because it's quite clear. You've got quite a number of bits of new growth coming up here which need to be pruned off. So this one's probably fine. This one you'd probably want to prune down to about 3 buds out, so that would be about 1 to maybe 3, so you take it about there. And similarly to this one, 1, 2, 3, you might, if you decide to go up a bud or down a bud, it doesn't matter hugely, but you know, roughly that's what you're trying to do. You find when you're summer pruning, sometimes you've got fruit on some of the bits where you're actually wanting to prune, and usually I leave them to fruit and then do them after you've taken the fruit off. And again, that one needs shortening. Don't you, Christine, do you want to try that one?
Yeah, I just had a question.
Yeah.
Something about this size, a tree about this size,
Yeah.
how much fruit would it produce?
Well, once these are established and fruiting well, they should produce, I don't know, 15 to 20 apples a year, something like that.
Alright guys, so these are known as white June-eating apples, and they're sort of the first harvest that we have, sort of gardener's treat. So we're going to just cut one open just now just to test sort of how ripe they are. Who wants to be the official tester?
Christine does.
Christine? Would you like a little bite of apple?
Sure.
So what's it taste like?
Very nice.
It's very
It's
sweet.
it's sweet and tart at the same time, but more sweet than tart.
But it reminds me, I know it's an apple, but it really reminds me of apple pie. It's sort of like the apple you get inside apple pie. Yeah, very nice. Sweet June-eating apple.
Very good.
I'm going to finish eating this one myself.
That's fine.
Let's just.
They're very white fleshed, yeah?
Yeah.
So is there apples or varieties of apples that, you know, kind of rot quicker or kind of last longer because of the types of flesh that they have, or the harder or softer apples?
In general terms, the early apples tend not to last very long, whereas the late season ones tend and often
Is
they're
that just hardiness
selected.
with the weather then?
I think in part the later ones were selected for keeping.
Okay.
Whereas the early ones were selected to ripen quickly.
Actually, I said this was really important. See, little bits at a time, and it's much nicer apple to. It's just taking the. I tend to find if you got a little bit, and you get the flavour of it, it's a lot more juicier, like, you know. But yeah, it's really nice. It's when we started, and you mentioned the first apple. I can't remember the name of it now, but you said it was a Clydeside variety.
Yeah, it's called Clydeside.
I'm from Lanark. I was born in the Clydeside.
Right.
And kind of be here and have that apple growing there. It's sort of.
It's your apple.
It's kind of it reminds me of home and family and stuff like that. And I think that's one of the really good things about the heritage varieties. I remember being a kid, and a Sunday afternoon out for me and the family, or my mum and dad would take us out. We'd be down the Clydeside, and it's full of garden centres. And one of the big things, you go out and pick fruit, soft fruit or apples. And so you go out with your basket and you go walk along the river, and these huge big nurseries, and you'll be able to pick raspberries or strawberries and apples later on in the year as well. So having an apple that's called Clydeside kind of floods back all those memories. And I think
Okay, I'm John Hancox from Scottish Fruit Trees. Scottish Fruit Trees, kind of like you'd expect, supplies Scottish varieties of fruit trees. We've got about 40 or so of the old Scottish varieties, things like Galloway Pippin, Cool Blush, East Lothian Pippin, and so on. And we can give advice on suitable fruit trees and also soft fruit and nuts and things like that will grow in different parts of Scotland. All the details are on the website, which is scottishfruittrees.com, and that should give you what information you need. And if you want a bit more information than's there, give me a ring, and not again, the number's on the website.